Oh, look, there's the ice cream truck, because we got something sweet for you at the card pool today.
Ooh, I like that one. That's a good intro.
Thanks. I'm your host, Stu.
And I'm Kyle.
And today we're doing something special. We're doing a magic moment, hence why it's so sweet. And we're going to be looking at the special mechanics that we find in Commander, specifically for Commanders.
Indeed, and there's quite a few of them that we're going to get through here. Some specifically made for Commander sets, some not, and they just kind of conveniently work. But we'll talk about pretty much all of them.
Yeah, we're going to dive into all the ones that exist as of now, before the new Commander set comes out. So we're pretty excited about that and seeing its iterations with how it interacts with all the cards we have now. So what's a better moment than now to reflect?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess let's just dive right in, right?
Let's dive right in, and we're going to be looking at the partner mechanics starting.
Yes, okay.
And we have two cards here. We have Timna the Weaver and Thrasios Triton Hero.
Yes, that's right.
And so the cool thing about the partner mechanic is that you're now able to make it so that you can have your own color combination, whether it's dual colored, tri-colored, or quad colored. You now have that ability to make whatever deck you want without being restricted by Wizards' own printing of a 4-colored commander specifically.
Right, exactly. And this was printed in Commander 2016, I want to say. It was when they made the 4-color commanders, because as like many people at Wizards have stated, making 4-color cards is really, really difficult because...
Well, you can't use it in Modern easily.
Well, it's tough because you have to figure out how to make a card make sense mechanically with all 4 colors, and there's not a whole lot of overlap between all that, so there's like really difficult to do that. So instead of making a bunch of 4-color creatures, they decided, let's make a bunch of 2-color creatures and create this partner mechanic so that people can mix and match and create, you know, 2, 3, or 4-color decks.
Which is brilliant, actually.
Really cool idea.
The only thing that this limits you on is that if the effect that's tied to the partner commander isn't what you want for this 4-colored creation, you're still stuck with it. The only thing that it benefits you is being able to add a color that you would be restricted on before.
Right, and unfortunately, I mean, as much as I love this idea, and I love a couple of these cards...
There's nothing bad about this.
I'll be the one to say it. Most of the partners are not that good.
That's not that bad of a deal. I mean, it's a workaround. You can do certain things with this. And unlike what you were saying before, how like it's hard to unify them, it's actually easier if you think about it as not unification through their own beliefs. If you do it based off of the hatred, I'm not a guy that's all about hate, but it's like, all right, all these colors, they hate blue, and they hate blue for this reason. Yeah, that's a collective effort of why this 4 pairing works against this.
Well,
and that would make sense.
It gives you one thing that you can't design for. I mean, that's true.
Yeah.
You know, so it's bended away from all the qualities of that one color that it lacks. I guess that is kind of true.
And that would be so refreshing, because we see it with the guilds, like, why do these overlap? We see it with the shards, why do these overlap? You see it with the cons, why do they overlap? I don't care anymore. Just make it so it's practical. The lore doesn't have to be tied with it. Don't slay me, Vorthos people out there. I know it matters, but I'm just saying... a little less for this. You can figure something out. Because we have 5-colored commanders, are we going to be like, well, how does this make sense? Like, we don't care.
For example, I picked Thrasios and Timna to kind of show this off because that partnership is one of the most infamous out there in terms of partner commanders, because not because of the cards themselves, because neither of them is particularly powerful. It's for their colors. That it's purely so that you can play all 4 of those colors together. Because if you combine all 4 of those, that's Atraxa colors, which is the deck that these cards came from.
Yep.
But if you don't want to play a proliferate style deck, you just want to play not red good stuff, then this is the pairing to go to, and you can do some really broken stuff in those colors.
Yeah, you can. Simic's strong, Orzhov is strong.
And combine them with like pretty much any permutation of all of them. There's some really, basically... some very, very competitive commander decks are based on this partnership here, but that's just one of the many, many ones that you can do. And there's actually, the important thing to note is one of these, Vile Smasher, is banned in 1v1 at least.
Commander for competitive like that.
For good reasons. I mean, that is probably one of the better ones.
But the one thing to note about this, it's really easy for them to go ahead and make another partner. So instead of having to go ahead and create an entire new block or set for this, they can add 1 or 2 here, because they are lopsided as of now. Not all the color pairings have equal partner commanders.
Yeah, they made 2 for each one. They made 2 enemy color ones and 1 ally color one for each pairing. So they were due for some like 5 ally color partners, and like I would really like them to make some more partners, but I've read at certain points that on the part of Wizards, they felt like Partner was kind of a failed experiment because it didn't become more popular, so they're not necessarily planning on making more.
We'll see. We
But
see it. Some
you can
stuff
always
come
hope.
back that we don't expect. But
Yeah.
enough on to this topic. We're going to another mechanic, and this is one that's from the command zone itself, which makes these commanders extremely powerful.
Yes.
Kyle,
All
you
right.
dive in?
Yeah, sure. I'll talk about it. It's called Eminence, and we've got 3 of the 4 here that have it. Well, actually, there are more than that, but I'll just talk about these, for example. We have the Ur-Dragon, we have Edgar Markov on the other side there, which are from Commander 2017.
But the OG.
Yeah, and then we have Aloro from the original Commander set, who does not have an Eminence ability, but I wanted to talk about him because he kind of has an Eminence ability.
He pretty much is Eminence, just for the fact that it's in there, it's doing a constant effect, it's a triggered effect like you're getting with the Eminence effect.
Yeah, and as you can read on the cards, the point of the Eminence ability is basically that these legendary creatures sit in your command zone and have some kind of static ability over the game. For the Ur-Dragon, it makes all your dragons cost 1 less, just for having him in your command zone.
Yeah.
And for Edgar Markov, whenever you cast a vampire creature, you make a 1/1 vampire token. So, I'm honestly not really sure how I feel about this mechanic overall.
You 100% know how you feel about it. Don't sugarcoat it.
Because it can be really hit or miss. Either it's really kind of lame, like the Ur-Dragon. I'm sorry, it's really not as good as you think it is.
Oh my god, Kyle. This effect is really good. It's really powerful because you're getting something for nothing.
Well, let me finish. Or it's doing things that are way too powerful, like Edgar Markov, which is banned in Commander 1v1 as well. Edgar Markov was just stupidly overpowered. Way, way, way too powerful for a vampire deck. And then there's things like Aloro, which is just inherently really broken because you're sitting there gaining 2 life a turn. And like Stu said, why I don't really like this mechanic is because you are getting something for nothing, and I don't really like that. I don't think that's good for the game.
Yeah, if every commander had that ability stacked onto it, sure. Or if they had it so it's like a card, kind of like you see with Oathbreaker, but it could be like a static effect that you get with it, sure. That'd be fine. Everyone's on the same playing field. But just flat out getting something for nothing. And, I mean, in 5 colors, sure, the Ur-Dragon makes sense for that. You need something to keep you on pace.
And dragons cost a lot, so making them cost less.
And it's well-flavored for that. But Aloro, in Esper control, where you want to gain life because black is paying life, white wants you to gain life. And I mean,
right. There's no building around it required. You could just play good stuff and sit there gaining 2 life a turn, and nobody likes that.
Yeah, and there's so much stuff that you can just do.
Why would literally he's so terrible? Otherwise, why would you ever play him?
Actually,
you know what I mean?
That was the one
pointless.
thing when the tuck rule existed for like being able to put a commander in someone's deck and they shuffle it away and it's gone. You always just prayed someone mind-slavered them to play it so it would be finally off the board, and it actually really hurt those decks because they're so used to gaining life, getting punched in the face, very Rocky Balboa style, that all of a sudden you have to guard yourself. Oh, how do I do that?
And you can't do that anymore. So
yeah, well, I miss it just for Aloro reasons. But
I don't know. I feel like it was.
It's overpowered.
Well, it was a natural extension of what Commander does. I can see why they came up with this idea. But let's not do this again, please. It's not a good idea.
There was one little silver lining, the little ray of hope that was good on this is if you're getting into Commander, but you didn't have a lot of money to do stuff, it made it so like the lower experienced or lower cash capped people had a better effect for not having to do as much. So this way it brought them into a fairer game of Magic. But for the people who had money or these expensive decks, it just put them that much further ahead. So it works in certain scenarios, but beyond that, it's just boom.
Yeah. So let's move on and talk about something else here. Next, this is one of my favorites. So you wanna do this one?
If it's your favorite, I might talk about it.
All right. Well, okay. I'll just go on. But yes. So we have. I mean, this is probably pretty well known to everyone, but I love the fact that this exists. We have, of course, next talking about Planeswalker Commanders.
Yes. Yeah.
Which were first introduced in Commander 2014. We then got Commander 2018, the most recent set last year, which had these a new series of Planeswalker commanders that were multicolored. The first ones were monocolored. So we have two different ones from two different versions of the set here. We have Lord Windgrace and we have Teferi from the original one. Windgrace is from the new one.
And Teferi is probably the best example of saying why we shouldn't have Planeswalker commanders anymore, because he is very stacksy,
very, very good,
very controlling, and very good. Whereas something as Lord Windgrace, it has its plays, it has its iterations.
Oh, super good deck, but very fair as a Planeswalker.
Whereas,
very fair.
and this just shows you why blue is horrible, because it just is abusing things for no reason because it can.
Well, the idea of like untap 4 permanents for -1, those is kind of silly. Well, one of the reasons why some of the original Commander Planeswalkers were so silly was because they felt the need for their abilities to be reused multiple times, so they made their pluses and minuses the same, which is just dumb. Why would you do that?
Yeah, it was kind of bizarro and that kind of flavor. But that's why you see the difference with Lord Windgrace. It has its ups and its downs, and it's significant when one goes off.
Exactly.
But the pros to using a Planeswalker as a commander is you're now not getting hit by board wipes such as Wrath of God, Rout, etc., or Toxic Deluge, unless you have Gideon, which, I mean, it's more Oathbreaker at this point, where you go and you make it into a creature, and then it subsequently can die. These can get around that. This also loves messing with Proliferate. That's a whole big thing with this.
Yeah, definitely.
And, I mean, you also are able to... I mean, the good thing about this also is when a Planeswalker's on the field, whether you agree with it being out there or not, it is a great way of saving your life total. They're going to go out and attack this, and your life total will inherently stay at the point it was at. And because they're going to constantly take this off the field. It's getting close to getting its ultimate, or it's doing something in a combo. I got to get this off the field. So you inherently get a little bit of an extra bonus from just using that.
Yeah, and they're doing more things to like target Planeswalkers these days. Like back in the old days when these were first printed, other than attacking them or doing damage to them, it's very difficult to get rid of Planeswalker commanders because there's not a lot of kill spells out there for Planeswalkers as there are for creatures. But that's changing now.
There was some, and that was what I liked because it gave green something very powerful for the fact that Beast Within is now something that was a lot stronger, or like a Vindicate, or a I mean, Orzhov had a bunch as well.
Right.
Just
there
target
were some,
permanent.
Yeah. But so I am a huge fan of Planeswalker commanders in general because they're stronger than creatures in some respects, but weaker than creatures in other respects. I think they're very balanced, very fair, other than maybe like one or two.
They're dynamic.
Like Teferi, for example, could be kind of on the edge there. I think most of them are eminently fair.
Yeah.
So,
and the fact that they're putting more colors into it, it's good. I mean, honestly, you can make a 4-colored Planeswalker as a commander. That'd be fine. A 5-colored, I'd love to see what they do for that.
Well, yeah, I've had thoughts about that. I think I know who should be a 5-color one. And no, I'm not thinking about Urza, so stop.
Well,
all right.
Well, we're ignoring the Urza one. Unset, cool, but no. All right. Well, who would you say yours?
I think Taysir points for people who know who that is.
I'm gonna say Ugin before he becomes a spirit.
I mean, that's possible. That's possible. I always wondered if he was always colorless or not. You know.
Oh, you could be colorblind. We don't know. But actually, you know what? This would be a good little segue. Put in the comments any character that you would like to have as a 5-colored Planeswalker. I mean, we're seeing Omnath slowly grow on its way to being a 5-colored commander, going from mono green originally. So we could inherently see something like that, like Jace ascending to being 5-colored, be funky.
Yeah, it'd be weird.
Or actually, you know what? I'll even do one more. I'll say a Johnny, because we've seen him has white, red, and green. And green-white.
He's pretty solidly green-white at this point.
But it's not hard to add a little 2 more colors, and he's just kind of like, you know, it's Mufasa.
I mean, they made Tamio Bant, so, you know, obviously nothing matters anymore.
We can see. We'll see. But, yeah, beyond that, I mean, the only other thing that really did something with this is it made it so that the Chain Veil is now skyrocketing.
Yeah.
And
great card.
Yeah, if you ended up, I had a couple for like 80 cents back in the day, trade them out when they're like $7. They're like 20 something now. So it's something that's like, all right, the dynamic of the game, the dynamic of everything else is changing just because of that. And it's really awesome to see it.
Definitely. Well, let's move on. Okay, this one you absolutely can talk about.
Cool. All right. Well, this is something that I do enjoy to a point. It's cheating commanders into play. And the way this is based off of avoiding the cost, and we have a couple cards here to kind of show this. We have, Yuriko, the Tiger's Shadow, Tassiger, the Golden Fang, and Derevi Imperial Tactician.
Wow, you got that right.
Yeah,
I'm very proud
I had
of
to
you.
really slow down on that one. I get 1 point on the board for that. So Derevi is the more iconic of the three because Derevi has the infamous pay for to always come out regardless
Which
at
is
instant
just,
speed
yeah,
nonetheless.
it's just really dumb.
Tasker more or less has the way to delve, which is a very strong mechanic by making it so that you just exile cards from the grave, can come out. So that Commander Tax gets stapled on is, well, not stapled.
Right.
And lastly, the other one is the ninjutsu one, which we see in one of the newer commander sets, which is kind of fun. It's when something goes in, it swings, isn't blocked. Well, hey, I'll pay this instead of the actual commander cost and make this enter the battlefield.
Yeah, and in the case of Yuriko, you don't have to pay commander tax on the ninjutsu, so it's always only 2
unless
to play.
unless you
as
really
long
have
as you're
to do
swinging with an unblocked creature. So, which kind of leads me to my point here, which is. And there are a lot more examples of these. We just picked these 3 because they're pretty widespread used. So just like Eminence, the effectiveness here varies wildly from card to card because there's something like Derevi that's way too good.
Yeah, you don't have to do anything except for having 4 mana, and you get an effect for it.
Well, and you basically get to untap 1 of your mana at the very least.
Even if it didn't have that effect, if it was just 4 to bring back in,
it would still be dumb.
It would still be really dumb. Yeah. I kind of wish they did that though, where it's like if you cast this, not cheat into play, if you cast it for its cost and its commander cost, you get the untap effect. That would have been smart. Yeah, you could bring it in if you need to, and that would be serviceable, and I would have less qualms about it. But it's just getting the effect continually for 4 mana. Yeah. It just bites.
It does, and why would you even bother having a commander tax at that point?
But, yeah, and it's Will Breaker too. That with Will Breaker just... Ugh.
Yeah, I played with Derevi for a while, and even I didn't find that fun. So but there's something like Yuriko, for example, which again, there's no commander tax. You can bring it in for 2 mana every single time, and you can do very good things with that deck. But you can only do it if you are swinging with an unblocked attacking creature. And you may say, oh, well, there are a bunch of small unblockable creatures in Magic. How hard is that? Yeah, but you have to then play them in the deck. So you're using space for a stupid little Mistcloaked Herald that you wouldn't be using for better cards.
You can do that. That is a strat, but there's also equipments. There's also Thassa the God who can go ahead and give unblockable. So it's not impossible. So I get what you're saying. You have to use certain things that you don't necessarily want just to make it so you get the consistency of that.
Exactly, which I'm a point that I will make later on.
But like, it's not horrible. But like the one I think that did a great job, it's very fair. Let's bring up a picture of him again. It's Tassiger. This guy here pretty much goes ahead and he plays right into the colors. He's in Golgari, but he also has that blue, and blue likes to mill. It can self-propel mill. And so getting the delve off of that is really cool because it's like the same kind of feel you'd want from a Sidisi deck. You're getting all the flavor with it, and like as the game scales up, you can then stay with your opponent no matter how far behind you're going because you're filling the grave regardless.
Yeah.
And that's the one I feel like they did the best example for avoiding the cost. It was so good.
Yeah, although to be fair, Tassiger is one of the most broken competitive commanders out there, so it doesn't necessarily have much to do with Tassiger, just as his colors and the fact that he's basically 1 mana all the time. So,
well, again, it depends what you got. Again, you also have to use stuff for the build, but that's something that can propel other strategies. It's not just the whole has to be unblockable. So you can, again, it's just got a lot more flavor. I like how they have these. They're not horribly broken as long as we stay away from the Derevi stat, but it just works. And actually another one we do have as an example is the mono black one from Dominaria. You sacrifice
Torgar,
Torgar.
Yeah.
He's one that didn't make the appearance.
I like that one.
But you can also make it so that he's always coming out for a reduced cost.
Right, as long as you sacrifice enough creatures, which is cool. Like like I said, I don't know that I'd try and break this rule specifically too often, but every once in a while you throw us a bone, like put Yuriko in the 2018 set. I'm just like, all right, this is kind of cool.
Yeah, if it's
gives
not
us another thing to do.
The set focused card, it's fine, totally fine. But now on to something unusual, and this is just spicy in a good way.
we just wanted to bring this up because it's weird.
I loved it. I fought for this to be in here. They're commanders you can't cast, and yes, they're still playable. And we're looking at cards here like Rakdos, Lord of Riots. We have,
Hakon,
Stormgald, Scourge, and Phage, the Untouchable. So all of these have conditions on being casted. So Rakdos here is probably the most ideal one. As long as an opponent has lost life, you can then cast him out. And being in this guild, it's very easy to go ahead and vicariously throw damage around.
Yeah, Rakdos is mainstream. He's pretty good.
Yeah, he's pretty good. You can do stuff with him, and his other effect is being able to reduce costs is great. Now, Hakon here, let's bring him back up real fast. This is one, it's just bizarro because he can only be brought out from the graveyard.
And not from anywhere else.
And in Commander, you got to play him to lead the command zone because nothing else interacts with the command zone except one card, and it's a land, and we're talking about Command Beacon.
Right.
And that's the only way. You need a tutor for that land, and being in black, it's not impossible to do that. You go ahead, you use all your tutors, get this guy, and just let him sit in the grave.
Right.
The only fear is if it gets exiled from the grave, you're in trouble.
Why would you do that? Play mono black knights? I don't know. Why would you do that? But I guess it's something you could do if you wanted to.
It's just interesting. It's goofy. And Phage is the other one where it's like if you play this wrong, you lose the game.
Right.
It has to be casted from the hand. And
you can't cheat it. You can't play it from the command zone.
It's got to be just flat out legit. I'm hard casting this bad boy into play.
Yeah.
And I've actually played against a person who made a whole deck with that. I'm like, all right, this is gonna be fun. And then they cast it from the command zone. I'm like, did you read the card at all? They're like, yeah, it's fine. I was like, well, I just won.
Yeah. I'm hoping they make a new version of Phage at some point, like one that you can actually play.
Yeah, and honestly, the effect isn't bad. If they oracle this to being just like that whole cast it from anywhere but if they add the notion on it, command zone's fine.
Right. Yeah.
This is still playable.
Yeah.
It's not as OP as it would be back in the day.
Right.
But it's just interesting that these exist. I mean, there's so many different mechanics that exist for commanders. It's what the joy of this game is. It's making it so that you can truly add your own flair and surprise your friends, change the meta, and just have a bizarro game.
Yeah. Well, you got one more to go, Stu, so you mind if I take this one?
Yeah, I enjoy this one, but go for it.
All right, well, so for our last segment here, we're going to talk about, and there's probably others that we've missed, but these are just ones that came up in our research. We're going to talk about some of the patron creatures. We're calling them offering commanders. We'll only have two of them to show right here. We've got a green one and a black one, patron of the Orochi and patron of the Nezumi. They were from the Betrayers of Kamigawa set. There's one for every color. Basically, they're sort of tribal-ish, but they don't have to be. So they all have an offering ability, and for each one, like snakes for the Orochi patron, rats for the Nezumi patron, blah blah blah. So you can cast it for a reduced cost and at instant speed. It gives them flash by sacrificing a creature of whatever type they like, and subtracting its mana cost from their mana cost. So not only do you get them at instant speed, but you get them at a reduced cost.
Which is phenomenal, because again, adjusting the cost of the commander, like we've been saying with Tassiger, is incredible. It gives you an advantage. It can help you progress in the game. Now, we look at these cards, and the mana cost on them is pretty high. The Patron's 8, the Rat Guy's 7. All right. You need to have something out there. But again, like green has staples like Soccer Tribe Elder, which happens to be a snake. Late game, it's kind of meh, but at this point, it'd be like, okay, I can then play this out, reduce the cost by 2. I haven't spent any mana, quote unquote. I can use it as a blocker and then sacrifice it to instant speed and bring my commander out. And avoid the summoning sickness. That's incredible.
Yeah, and I would say of the whole cycle, I've seen people play with Patron of the Moon, the blue one, and that can be all right, I guess. I mean, most of the Moonfolk themselves are garbage, but the Patron is
really selling it.
Well, the Patron itself can be very good in a blue control deck, but I would say the green one here, Patron of the Orochi, is the best one because like untap all forests and all green creatures, including itself. Oh no, you can only use this once per turn. How terrible.
But this means it's not broken at that point, because there's so many... Well, that's the thing that makes this interesting, because usually in a lot of decks, you want to go ahead and use stuff to abuse the effect, like a Yisan the Wandering Bard.
Yeah.
You want to use a 1,000-year elixir to go ahead and get the effect to quickly use the pseudo haste and then untap it again. There's no point in doing that, but it makes it so that your lands and all green creatures, all forests and all green creatures in play untap. So it's a global effect on your opponents, teammates, yourself, whatever. But being a mono green, you'll definitely get the mana cap bonus.
Oh, yeah.
You might get the creature bonus along with some other people. And it's just interesting because you don't see a lot of decks for this. I've been playing around with an idea for this. It's on the Tapped Out. We can link that down in the description below. But it's just, you can do green control in a vicious way with Winter Orb and like Static Orb and stuff like that and not be hurt because this guy makes it so you get your lands back.
Right.
So it's just interesting. It's fun. These are cards like I would like to see, forgetting around the cost like we were talking before, cards like this. They're a little bit niche, but when they are totally engaged, it's just wow. You can't help but be floored.
Definitely. And before we go here, Stu, I want to ask, what do you think is going to be in Commander 2019? Or what do you hope is going to be in it?
Oh, I'm hoping Soul Ring.
Well, I mean, that's pretty much a given, I feel.
All right, for cards that I would like to see coming afoot. I mean, it's hard to say. We've seen the Modern Horizons, and we've definitely seen what came out from 19 core set.
Thing, if you wanted to pick one thing, what would it be?
I would want a... I still think that we need Boros support.
Well, we always do.
I want to see some good Boros staples that come out that aren't just attack-based stuff. And I think that's what my one dream would be for that.
Feather was a huge step in the right direction.
It was.
From War of the Spark. I hope we get more of that stuff.
Not maybe as super over-the-top combo-y things, but like as a commander. But I would like it just like some instants or sorceries or artifacts even. Like I would love a Boros equipment. That would make sense. Beyond Sunforger, what else is out there for them?
Right, not a lot. Well, if you ask me what I think they should do...
Wait. Hey, Kyle, what do you think they should do for the set coming out?
Right, yeah. So, I would like to say, I think they should do...
Hey, Kyle, what do you think they should do for the set coming out?
Commanders with hybrid costs, either in them or on them.
Well, like the Reaper King?
So, something like that. Yeah, so... We've seen a lot of gold commanders, they're multicolored. They usually have, 2 mana symbols at least in their cost in terms of colors. Why not hybrid legends? We don't have a ton of them out there. That way, you could have all the benefits of having decks.
We just got a new one, actually.
Well, you could have all the benefits of having decks of a certain color, but you don't have to play that color if you don't want to. You could play a Gruul legend in a green deck or a red deck if you want to.
See, all right, I'm going to stop you there because the one thing that's wrong about this, all right, so we have been getting more of those. In the con set, we've gotten them where it's like the effect that's tacked onto it. So like the top color is one thing, but the effect down below is splits.
Oh, right. No, I know that. Well, I know they exist, like Alesha, who smiles with death, Shuyan. Yeah, those ones. I'm saying, like, and Tasigur, obviously. I'm saying I want more of that. But I want them. But what I want is, I want 2-color creatures with a double-color hybrid ability, which is neither of their colors. They're 4 colors by default. Wouldn't that be interesting?
I would be all right with that, or even a 5-colored one like that.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, well, maybe, who knows, maybe we'll get one that itself is like a tri-colored split.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, even that. I mean, that's kind of like what the cons ones are, but still, I would like more of that because it lets you build with more colors. You don't actually have to do it, but you can if you want to.
Maybe. I'm a little disappointed with your answer because it's not something new.
But it's sort of new. I'm trying to pick things that I think they would practically, that I think Wizards would practically do, and I feel like that is a very practical answer.
I think mine's even more practical. Who's more practical? We'll do a poll because we like to do these every time. Who's being more... Actually, we'll do a different poll here. Which patron would you have chosen to make as your own commander? Now, we're going to have you do a little bit of research on this one. So there's 5, 1 for each color. Which one do you think is the strongest? So we'll throw it up here. Which patron do you like? And let us know, either in the comments, in the poll, whatever. But until then, that's going to conclude this magic moment we got here. You can find us on a variety of places for our social media.
Indeed. I mean, there's Reddit, there's Twitter, there's Facebook. We have a tapped out page with all of our deck lists. Or if you're feeling like emailing us, you can hit us up at mtgthecardpool@gmail.com. So,
until then, I'm Stu.
And I'm Kyle.
And we'll see you next time at the Card Pool.